Council meeting for Monday, November 20th, 2023. Call the meeting to order at 7:02. Will you please stand and join me in pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. We had a work session. With that, Elise, we call roll, please.
Here, Councilmember Hubbard. Here. Councilmember Wong.
Here.
Councilmember McGrath.
Here. Here. Moves us to item number 4, adopting the agenda. Are there corrections or additions to the agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Councilmember Hatfield. Second by Councilmember McGrath. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both same sign. Motion carries. Moves to visitor presentation. Anyone here for a visitor presentation? Anybody online, Krista?
No one is online.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to approving previous meeting minutes. And that is a meeting from 11/6/2023. Again, if there are no corrections or additions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hubbard. Second by Winchell. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. All right, we are at consent. Again, these are items that need our approval, but not necessarily conversation, but any and all can be discussed if need be. So with that, does anyone have any comments, questions, or concerns on our consent items?
Motion to approve consent.
All right, motion by Councilmember Hatfield.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hubbard to approve consent. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both same sign. Carries. We're off to the races on action items. Adopt resolution 2023-90 and ordinance number 1038 approving preliminary site and building plan and rezoning of the public safety facility.
Mayor and Councilmember, this item in front of you tonight is coming from the Planning Commission with a recommendation for approval. This is our public safety facility, which is the combination of the fire department and police department on the current fire department site on Angler. That's probably all I need to say about it. I'll turn it over. I don't know if Nate's making the presentation. Ashley's making the presentation. All right. Ashley's making the presentation. Has Ashley been formally introduced yet?
I was gonna say, no, I think Ashley should be introduced.
I think, okay, go for it.
Oh,
All right.
I guess not a meeting.
Yeah.
You're right.
Council members, this is Ashley Colley. She's our newest planner. Ashley's been around for 2 months already. Holy cow. Okay, 2 months. She comes to us from Minnetonka, where she served as a planner for about 10 years there. So she's bringing some solid experience to the table. And as a result, she's well positioned to move this one forward. And so she's taken on the Public Safety Center facility. So you'll see her tonight with the preliminary plan and then the final plan as well, assuming that comes in December, which is what it's scheduled to do.
I think there's one other distinguishable fact about Ashley that needs to be mentioned. She's are you the niece of Kevin Abraham? So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And if anybody that doesn't know, Kevin Abraham was our lead mechanic foreman for 40 years.
Did you ever drive?
35
I
years?
think you got that far.
Yeah, probably 35 years.
I was not the one who drove the legendary white Lumina.
Guess who had the white Lumina after whoever that was? Me.
What? Wait, what?
My mom bought a white Lumina from Kevin Abraham. And that was my first car and my sister's first car. And it was a good car.
That's the Jeopardy question.
My husband would say Lumina.
So did you do the Minnetonka Public Safety Building too?
I did work on it. I did not present that one.
Okay, just checking to see if you got any experience of it.
Yes, no pressure. First project, public safety building. Here we go. Gonna share screen. Here we go. All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight's item is the new public safety building located on the south side of Engler Boulevard, generally west of the 41 and Engler Boulevard intersection. The construction of the new public safety building was envisioned and identified as part of the strategic plan adopted by the council in 2021. The concept plan shown on the screen before you came to the Planning Commission and City Council earlier in September of this year. I believe it actually came to the City Council my first week. So I am bringing myself up to speed on that. Ultimately, the Planning Commission asked questions at their meeting related to the future 41 and Engler Boulevard project, the amount of green space that would be resulting, screening, as well as park design. They also asked some questions just related to building height and how it relate to neighboring properties. The Parks and Recreation Commission also reviewed the concept plan at their meeting. They encouraged that access to the park remain open as long as feasible during construction. And the commission also asked questions related to the implication of stormwater design and the size of the future park. You as the council then approved the concept plan at your meeting in September. Since the council's review of the concept plan, there was an additional open house on October 25th, and roughly 15 people attended that meeting and asked questions related again to the park construction, timing and trail paving, screening and view sheds of the stormwater pond and the facility, and then finally just financial questions related to operational and future construction costs. So where we are this evening, again, concept plan wrapped up in September of 2023. We are currently in the preliminary site and building plan review process. This step generally includes a more technical review of those plans and reports, including the civil drawings. It works to resolve some issues that are identified as part of the concept plan, and then we will move into final site and building plan after this evening, anticipated for next month. The total site is comprised of 2 properties. It's 9.37 acres. The current fire station property makes up 6.15 of those acres. It's improved with a 23,000 square foot fire station that was originally built in 1996. There is a vegetated berm that's on the south side of that building, and but for that, the site is relatively flat. The park property is west of the fire station, and it's improved with the playground structure and existing trail connections that go out to the north, south, and west of the site. Vehicular access from Engler Boulevard is to the north. Those outermost rings are for vehicular traffic, and again, that center access point is for the fire trucks to access. The site would be regraded in order to accommodate the newly constructed building for police and fire. The building would have a footprint of 64,000 square feet, but then a gross floor area of 100,000 square feet due to underground parking, and then a second-story addition over the northern part of the building. Public access to the site and parking and to the building would be on the west side of the site. Police access and parking would generally be on the south side, but they would access those lots both from the easternmost and westernmost access points. Parking for fire crew would be in the northern lot, and then there are some additional stalls south of the apparatus bay. Access, emergency access for the police would be utilized that easternmost access, and then again, the fire trucks responding to calls would utilize that centermost access point. The fire chief and the architect did work to create an internal site access so they can move fire apparatus vehicles through the site rather than having them exit onto Engler and then enter back on. It just kind of helped keep those sites or those vehicles to be able to circulate within the site.
Say that again. What are you saying there?
So there's this internal access point. I'm not sure if you can see yep. So right in here.
What's that for?
You
So
don't have to drive onto Engler to
Yep.
come back around the back of the building.
So in a sense, a
And-
fire vehicle could come out of the bays if they're doing training, and they could come through the site and then get back into the bay rather than having to exit the site fully and then circle back through.
So is that an island out there
There,
against Engler?
yep, this is a median here, and then there's another little internal median to create that access point within.
There's enough access there to make that with the vehicles.
Yeah, so Mayor, staff also had questions about that. So we asked the architect to put together several turning exhibits. They are included in your report for this evening. And we asked them to utilize the largest fire truck and show that they are able to make that access. And both the fire chief, he's here this evening, and they reviewed the plans and they're comfortable with that as well.
Okay. Pretty tight.
Again, the site would be regraded in order to accommodate the building, the parking, and additional site improvements, including this additional capacity within the stormwater pond to the west, and then a screening berm south of the building. Utilities, stormwater would be collected throughout the site and then directed to that newly expanded pond in the southwest. And then existing service utilities would be extended from existing facilities, or excuse me, utilities into the site. Generally, the landscaping includes a mix of coniferous and deciduous plantings as shown. They're generally around the perimeter of the building as well as around the parking areas. The plan is conscientious to those future parking areas and avoided plantings within those to essentially avoid future removals if they're needed to be constructed in the future. As noted again in your report, there was a small deficiency in the amount of understory trees that were included as part of the plans. Staff has continued to work with the landscape architect, and that would be resolved at the future design phase.
Seems like a lot of shrubs, 531 shrubs. Is that our requirement?
Mayor, that does exceed. You can see it's roughly double what our code would require. We included as a condition of approval would continue to evaluate whether all of those shrubs would be necessary, and if they provide or if they have any complications or conflictions with the utility plan. So there may be a reduction in that, but it does allow us a little bit of play, if you will, in the design phase.
This might be a good question though for the architect, for Quinn to talk about. I'm assuming a lot of these are to create a visual barrier on the berm from the neighborhood to the south. Yeah.
But I thought one of the neighbors wanted it more open, and now we're gonna bury it with shrubs. I don't know.
One of them did.
And I will say, being at the open house, that very neighbor kind of, I don't want to say like change their mind, but they, yeah.
I thought it was gonna be more open, and now 531 shrubs is a lot of shrubs. And I don't know where a shrub goes from a tree, but just seems overkill. And to me, everything's overplanted in 5 years, it's overgrown and it looks terrible, but I don't know, that's me. So, but anyways, go ahead, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The city administrator is correct. That is a big chunk of those are on that berm area to try to increase screening. Related to the open area that some of the neighbors were looking at, they were looking at having an open area between pine trees and other trees you could see up over, but not necessarily at that lower level. So that is, excuse me, that is a part of it. But we can definitely look as at the discussion as to whether there's are areas that we can reduce them within that quantity. There's also a lot of perimeter to the building, and so perimeter foundation planting is usually a goal as well.
Do shrubs, because they're lower to the ground, filter out noise too? I'm thinking like sirens. Is that site like, so like if you tree, right, sound goes through on the ground, do shrubs have any of that?
No.
So it's 100% visual. Yeah.
Sometimes there's a difference that we witness with folks who live with, you know, vegetative screening, but yeah, typically we would say that's not a noise barrier.
Thank you.
Moving into the building design, the building on the northern elevation ranges from 28 to 39 feet in height. It steps down to 28 feet in height on the southern elevation, so down to a single story along those southern single-family residential properties. The facade is primarily the cream-colored Chaska brick, as well as glass, cast stone, and composite wall materials. Signage on the northern elevation is shown in two locations over, let's see, it'd be on the eastern side and then on that central focal tower. And then in two locations on the east side along a metal canopy panel, and then badge emblems up in the clear story on the west elevation. Those signage details generally appear to conform with city code, but those details would be reviewed at the time of a future sign permit. Internally, generally the northern half of the building is dedicated to fire operations. Again, there is a second story addition over the top of this that would include the duty crew living areas, as well as training tower over between the apparatus bays. The southern half is generally where the police department would occupy, and then there is underground parking below that. So to conclude my presentation this evening, I'll summarize the staff analysis that was included in the staff report for this evening. Ultimately, staff finds that the rezoning is appropriate as the uses are consistent with what's allowed in the zoning district. The plan is generally consistent with the concept plan that you approved in September. The changes that you will notice, the western access drive was removed to increase green space for the park. Stormwater opportunities originally contemplated stormwater chambers. Those were ultimately removed from the project just due to cost constraints and maintenance concerns. And then staff was better able to understand implications of the design on the park. So the existing park size is roughly 81,000 square feet. And under the current proposal, they're just under 61,000 square feet. Overall, staff finds that the building is intuitively designed and the height is appropriate to its neighborhood context. Taller parts of the building adjacent to Engler and the apartments to the north, and then dropping down to single story on the southern side adjacent to those single family residential homes. The materials are consistent with what we required and allowed by city code. All the materials are the high class 1 materials. The exterior lighting generally complies with ordinance. As a condition of approval, you'll notice that there was a small refinement just due to the height of wall packs on the apparatus bays, but we're continuing to work with the architect to get resolution on that. And finally, signage is generally appropriate, and those final sign details will come by way of a permit. Overall site design, grading, and utility plans are reasonable and necessary for the building. And the landscaping plan and berm generally provide reasonable screening to adjacent properties. And again, we'll continue to review the number of plantings that are proposed and their compatibility with the other plans. Pedestrian access is reasonable, including the incorporation of a pedestrian sidewalk on the north side of the site, so just south of Engler Boulevard. Parking is compliant with code requirements, and it's anticipated to meet the demands of the current operations as well as anticipated future operations. And finally, the vehicular access was designed to separate public access and parking from the emergency service needs, and we find that that is a reasonable and appropriate design approach. So the preliminary plan that went before you this evening has also gone to Planning Commission and to the Parks and Recreation Commission this month. A more detailed summary of that is included in your report for this evening. But generally, the Planning Commission just asked additional questions about the park size and stormwater design. They encouraged the incorporation of green infrastructure, and they supported the trail along Engler Boulevard. They also requested additional information regarding signaling. And I always say Opticon because I have a son who watches a lot of Transformers, but the Opticom system as a part of the final site plan review.
Yeah, it is.
I always have to think through that. And then Parks and Recreation Commission also reviewed the plan. Ultimately, they supported it and they appreciated the Planning Commission and City Council's support to keep the size of the park to the greatest extent possible. They'd recommend a larger play structure to balance the reduced play area. And finally, they commented that the park would not only continue to support those within the immediate neighborhood, but it could also become a destination park in the future, just due to its unique proximity to the public service.
Shouldn't that just be a neighborhood park? It shouldn't be a destination park. Why are we getting away from that? I mean,
and I think that was a comment that came from the park board. Ultimately, that design is going to come at that later date, and then the council would have that.
You're going to find the space that's available for the playground there is what space we have for neighborhood parks. But with that being said, because there's a parking lot there and because there's a police station and fire station there, kids are going to want to come and play at that place.
It kind of seems like the one by the high school. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, the Cortina Woods
Because
one.
there's that parking lot there.
Yeah.
It's more than just the neighborhood use.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not community park like community park.
well, that's why
Yeah.
I worry about us calling it that.
Yeah, it's just not big enough to accommodate anything that would be beyond a playground that's a neighborhood park.
So with that, staff is recommending approval, and then Mayor, I'll turn it back to you for any questions.
You put the date of the last neighborhood meeting. Was the landscape plan included when we had the last neighborhood meeting, or were we not that far yet? Do we know? Because I'll give you the background that might help answer this. At the public safety building open house, there were that was one of the requests from the neighbors was another. And I think it kind of sounded like once we get to this point, the preliminary site plan, where there's more details around landscape and such, they would like another neighborhood meeting if possible. And so I don't know if there had been one since we got this far, and if there was plan or opportunity for one. I know it maybe wouldn't be required, but.
The most recent meeting would have been the open house.
Okay.
That was the public meeting that was held prior to
October 25th or something.
prior
Okay.
to this one between. And so I'm trying to recall, I don't know that we had the full details of the landscape plan that was presented here tonight, but I do know that we talked about, we were able to talk to some level of detail around changes and the direction we're going with the berm, because there was a discussion around that ongoing push and pull right around how heavily should that berm be planted. But if there remains questions, I think we can certainly reach out to those neighbors directly, or I don't know, maybe talk about what might might make some sense. for
Yeah, 'cause
additional questions there.
I think some of like what, and it's been slight, like what's changed around the park area, and some of the watershed area, and then the landscaping.
Mhm.
Some of that has been since I know that there was the public safety open house, which that wasn't really targeted as a neighborhood meeting,
Mhm.
but more,
Mhm.
I think there's, since the one that was more of a neighborhood meeting, there's been more done and they have further
Mhm.
questions. At least that's what I heard. I don't know if that's what everyone else.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
I'll just, add for full, clarity or fuller clarity. The planning commission meeting was a public hearing and there was notice that was provided, in that 500-foot mailing radius like we would typically do for a public hearing. So that would have been another opportunity at the planning commission meeting. Now I know I'm not meaning to suggest that it's a substitute for a neighborhood meeting, but that was an opportunity for public comment. The public comment or the public hearing portion of the planning commission meeting, there was no one who elected to provide any sort of feedback or anything. There were some folks on Zoom. There was one individual in the audience that evening, but no one provided any sort of comment or feedback during that public hearing period.
Thank you.
And just to provide a little more clarity, the neighborhood was individually noticed for that October 25th open house,
So
they
it
received
kind of was.
additional.
Okay,
And
that's
then looking
helpful.
back at the slides, we
Out of
did
the-
provide information on landscape plan
Okay.
at that time.
Good. That's what I was wondering was, that makes more sense now thinking of the public house, open house
Yeah.
as if they were noticed as such
They
that,
were.
okay.
Mhm.
100% sure.
So there's a trail over the berm connecting to that neighborhood then, if I'm reading this correctly, right? On page, I don't know how to read this, 16. I assume that's the trail.
Mayor, the trail would come along and follow through. The berm would be to the east of the trail.
Where does that track to the? Because there's an informal trail that people like walk through, right? It's not gravel from, it goes back to that neighborhood. Is that still there? Or would that be taken out? You know what I'm talking about? Where it's.
There's a formal trail
There's a
right
formal
now.
trail
There's a paved trail.
and it's
Well, this is
still,
an unpaved trail that I think people just have mowed through. It kind of goes, I gotta think of the street. It's the one right behind.
They're all cardinals behind there, so just say cardinal, you'll be safe.
But like, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Oh yeah, it's fine. I'll take a peek at it closer because I just thought of that.
Meadow Lane, there's
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah, Meadows.
paved.
Yeah, this one's more, I think, right, if you go, if you take a right, instead of going towards like the dental place, it's right, and then there's like a path, kind of goes into the field.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Close
Like,
over on that side.
I Parked in that neighborhood and walked to the
Yeah.
fire open house.
Like
So there's a
here.
there's a
But
city
the
owned
one we're talking about is over here.
Mhm. Yeah,
outlet
that's what I was
Yeah.
on the very east side of the neighborhood between that
Yeah.
and where the commercial
Yeah.
area. Yes, there's a city-owned outlet there. That will continue to be a city-owned outlet. We're not proposing any improvements to it. So the status that it is today would be the status that it is going forward.
It clearly gets used that
Yeah,
way.
well, there's going to be a difference though now, right, with the way that the site
Yeah.
is laid out.
True.
And the fencing for the secured area on the south side of the public
Walking-
safety facility. Anyone walking through there, I don't know, there's gonna be less of a reason to do that, I think.
And we've decided where the park's gonna be there. I know that was the controversy.
Yeah. That kidney bean shape there that's on the plan is where the actual park would be. I don't know. if people-
Yeah, which page are we on?
Um,
Cause I know there's conversations about moving it forward, moving it backwards and
Yeah.
everything was to be determined later. I assume now it's gotta be determined.
Where that designated area is there, Mark, on the west side?
Right there.
Right there, that's the park.
So that's the kidney bean, right? And the idea is this planning process has been focused on the building, the public safety center. The park, we will do a separate planning process around that to identify specifically, what apparatus goes where within that.
Well, and it's a typical process that we use for neighborhood parks where we actually invite the neighborhood to be a part of it.
This would be, the thought is we mirror what you just saw play out with the Savannah Oaks Park and how that process went. The park itself was not designed as part of the neighborhood planning process, right? That was a separate process that came in.
What's the timeline on that compared to building construction?
I think timing of it, we want to have, because if you consider, we're going to be starting construction, say in April of 24, and we'd open in like October of 25. And so the thought would be, and Marshall, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the thought would be is that we do that planning process during late summer, fall timeframe of 24, so that then we can order the equipment to have to get it over the winter time, so that we could actually build it in the summer of 25, so it would open when the build is close to when the building.
Coincide with the opening of the.
We
Yep.
wouldn't have the process start until after the building's actually
Sure,
started
sure.
construction.
That makes sense. That's,
Is,
and I think that's important messaging to those neighbors as well, so that they don't feel like,
And that's something we shared with them.
okay,
that, that this is their neighborhood park, and so it'll be their process to be a part of.
is any of the equipment that's there reusable, or is it past life?
I would think it's past life. I don't know the answer to that, but the reason I think it's past life is just given the age of when that was put in and when our typical equipment would fail.
I guess I don't, just all of a sudden it was there. I guess I don't know when it came. That's why I was wondering how old it is.
Well, it was here definitely before 2000. It was here, the playground was there before the apartment was there, and the apartment was built in 2002. So it would have been built when the townhomes and stuff to the south were built.
What else we got? Are we doing any more?
What's that?
Are we doing any more of the presentation, or is that it?
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
you said you
Put
had.
another edition on, or?
You said you had graphics of the turn, the ability to turn in that space.
They're in your report. Let me grab the page.
I can't find them, but I'm struggling with my device.
I can find them
It
here,
could-
but I also.
It could be just a user error over here.
It's in site and building plans on the
Oh.
last 2 pages of that.
Site
Hold on.
and building plans last
So that's a
pages.
supporting
Okay.
document.
I guess I technically didn't look at that one maybe yet.
It's just taking forever to come up.
Oh, I
can't-
see,
It just,
but yeah,
It takes time to load those pages.
What do you got?
I think it's, oh, shoot. Well, I have it. My thing doesn't like me tonight.
No, it loads really slow.
It's just, yeah, there's just a
Yeah.
lot of
I
data.
was just gonna say, maybe I'm just being impatient.
What? I mean, I have some questions of things that I've seen, that I see in the building that I trying to understand what we're doing. So I don't know, is that we're not gonna do any of that? Huh? Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have questions on stuff, I think, bring it up and we can start talking about it.
Talking like the rooms and things in the building?
Yes. So, I kind of went over and was looking at the blueprints and, looking at things and I just got concerns over some of the things that I've seen in here, trying to make this big enough that I can see it, but I don't know if I can.
Use your fingers.
So, I kind of did it by PD, fire and shared. And I'll be willing to start in the lobby, and I'm trying to understand why when you come in the lobby, there's a public men's and women's, but then there's a unisex. Why do we need 3 of them there? And I can't tell if that 4th one, if that comes out of the PD, but why so many restrooms in the main lobby?
I think we should have the architect come up.
I mean, I know that bathrooms are not cheap and somebody's got to clean them and take care of them. It just seems like, to me, that's an overkill for a lobby.
Let me address that if I may, Mayor. A couple questions there. I'll start with, you are correct. There is a men's and a women's and a unisex, a single unisex. The other one is for on the police side. So that there's just a single unisex out there. It is very common for us to be including a unisex restroom as one of the choices in the public areas of facilities. So that's what we're looking at for that. And I think the other thing that we're basing the quantity of bathrooms on is not so much for somebody from the outside coming in. It's more for the training room activities in there. If they break, there's enough.
Well, I figured that, but I don't understand the unisex one.
Someone might choose to, because I'm guessing the men's and women's restrooms there are not single stall, probably multiple stall, where a unisex would be a typical single stall, private locked bathroom like you'd see in a restaurant.
Also provides for a family changing room. So if you're taking a kid in and that's where the changing tables are, or multi-gender kids as well.
Oh, it's unisex. To me, unisex is just different. Not a family room. It's a unisex room.
Yeah, I know, but if you're a mom that needs to nurse her child and wants to do it in private, you're gonna probably pick, and there's no
All right.
room designated, you're gonna pick a
Yeah, I just think it's
bathroom.
more and more, I'm sure
Or
you're
you
seeing.
You have a child that's young, but not, you don't want to bring them in the women's bathroom, it's a boy, so you take them into the, into.
I just think it's more and more common in public spaces, like you said, you're just seeing that designation. I mean, the other option would be, right, is that if if they're all single stall, then they all be, in theory, become used as you may, right? But that's more walls and more cost too, right? So.
All right. So we're just kind of in this general area. Why do we have a police and fire fitness? I thought that was part of the combination, as we'd be able to combine that. Why do we have 2?
I could probably answer that question more. I think so one of the things that happens with this fitness area is that it opens out onto a common space outside. So it really allows the fire department, if they want to just be with the fire department, or the police department, if they want to just be with the police department for working out, to be able to do that, but then opens out into a common area outside where they can work out together if they want to. It's a
common area you're talking about. I have no idea.
It's outside.
Just right here.
If you're looking at the building plans, it's hard to see, but basically both of those spaces open out onto a common outside area. But it offers the opportunity for the police to be just with the police and the fire just with the fire, but then be able to open up into a common space if they want to work out together.
I thought the idea of doing this is combining some of that so that we don't have to have duplicates.
I think you understand, though, that it's not necessarily that the square foot changes. It's just providing some opportunities that we can combine things together, but they don't have to. And Chief, I think Chief would be, you can talk about this from more of a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, good evening. We originally approached the project with that in mind, if we're going to have a joint fitness space. I think as we as fire got to get to know our PD brethren, the way it was described to me, and ultimately why we chose to separate out, have some private space, is as a fire guy, PD uses their fitness room like we use the kitchen table. That's a wellness space. It's a place where they can unpack and unload and talk to each other about what the stressors of their job. And we certainly felt if we are in there as fire staff that we're infringing on that. Just similar as if we're having a debrief around our kitchen table upstairs, there's a kind of a sacredness about that space. Ultimately, why looking at the square footage, we chose if we can keep the square footage the same, but ultimately put up a wall and create opportunities to be together, but not force it, that was the better direction for us to preserve that space for PD as well.
Well, it just seems like we have to buy double the equipment then. I still think that there could be other ways of maybe doing that. It just seems like a lot, but just bringing it up. While you're here, Stephen, I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Fire, here we go. In here, now again, things might not be labeled the way I'm looking for them, so there's probably things here. Now, one of the things that I had is where's the copy room for what you guys are gonna be utilizing? Is that in the admin workspace?
Yeah, so that would be if you're up in, I assume we're talking about the fire lobby area or the fire area. So right behind the fire admin, there's a kind of a collaborative work area space. That's where our office support, copy, printer, mailbox area would be for the bulk of that office staff up there. There's another printer in what would be an inspector's area. But the bulk of the copier and things would be in that work area. Right.
That's what I was wondering, because it just seemed far away from where all your activities are. With everybody else I'm calling the top of the page at Engler Boulevard side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then while we're in that, so fire is going to be the reception for both police and fire? Is that correct?
No. So
There's no reception for police.
So the police have a separate police lobby where their receptionist will be behind another door. So they have the ability to we don't have that separate lobby space. Our customer counter is out adjacent to that main area. So while it is a possibility that people coming in could rely on our admin staff for a little bit of directions, and we're going to point them across the hall.
There's also a lot of signage that in
I
the
see
design
it.
that makes that clear.
But so then that. Again, I thought we were doing this to combine things. So now we're gonna have two receptions still. But again.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, we're trying to bring together some of those common spaces where it shows red with like the EOC center. But that EOC center is really sort of combined space that's going to be used together. The main lobby space to bring people into the area is going to be the own space. But, the types of functions that the fire and the police have as far as people coming into the facility are going to be very different. And so, the types of people, the types of things that a police receptionist is going to have to deal with is going to be very different than somebody at a fire receptionist. So we still need to have the functions be able to work within this space.
And the other thing that, well, I mean, I'm trying to stay on the first level. I've kind of bounced around here. On the second level, Stephen, I gotta go to that. Anyways, can you get from the second level to the training mezzanine?
Not without going through the apparatus. So one of the things we looked at is how, again, we talked previously about some hot zones, warm zones, cold zones within a fire station. So it's the path that we have taken through in certain areas of the station is very deliberate. So one of the warm zones is our training area in that training mezzanine, where it's likely that people will be in their gear, be in PPE. We don't want them to be able to come from the dorms with that gear and get into that training mezzanine. We want them to have to go through that PPE area and keep that gear where it's supposed to be. That the HVAC is designed to keep that air out of the dorm rooms. And so that's one of the reasons for that separation that exists there.
Okay. So again, I gotta move back and forth. So the fire pole is gonna be an operating fire pole?
Yes.
What's the room says hot seat?
But that's a pressure washing system that it's for washing our apparatus. That's attached to mechanical room. The hot seat is really it's a brand name of a pressure. So that's where that system will sit.
On that drawing, what is that showing next to the fire pole? I'm trying to figure out what that's supposed to,
With the X through it?
well, there's like, is that chairs? Where the fire pole is on the second story?
So from where the fire pole is, that's a enclosed nook that you come and just go down the fire pole. To the past that, but you can't go through that, is the stairs to the lower level. And then there's a chase for ductwork that's in the X area. The route down to the stairs goes on the other side of the day room area there into the stairwells and down. It's also where the elevator is.
So that half moon thing, what is that? Is that a seating?
Directly to.
But you see the second level, you'll see the fire pole. And he talked about the X down there. What is that?
Above the X.
So there's above the X, there's a TV on that wall, and there is
Yeah, and just the road
some
chairs.
seating.
Just trying to understand what exactly that is. So we can use the steps or the pole that are right there. Okay. The other thing that I got a question on, does every dorm need its own restroom? You can't make pods?
That is something we're seeing very commonly in new fire station design, is to separate what we would call dorm suites. And that improves mental health and separation, so you can increase sleep without having other people walking around outside your dorm room. We separate that off into an individual toilet. It also makes it easier for somebody that getting up in the middle of the night to use the restroom without going out into a common hallway, and also in really low light levels, so they can reduce that waking up experience and go back to sleep hopefully quickly.
It just seems like a lot of restrooms are gonna sit there not being used, but still have to be maintained and taken care of.
I can tell you, when we did tours of facilities, those were one of the top things that people said were things that really were attractive to the firefighters. And at least what I gathered when we went through there is that, it becomes sort of the crews that are on duty to be able to maintain those things, that they're actually taking care of, cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the rooms. It becomes an expectation that when you shift over to the next shift, that those things are actually done before that next shift comes in. But if there is one thing that
In there, that doesn't happen, but go
On
ahead.
station 19, it does.
if there's one thing that at least I saw from station to station that really stood out, that made the places where people wanted to be, was having the dorms like this. Because they still have the ability with the common spaces to come out and be together and socialize. But it gave people quiet space for them to go back if they have to do work for their regular job. Want to have some privacy, some place for them to go that isn't so much of a common dorm.
It's back to my comment about locker rooms and family spaces. I think it'll increase our sensitivity of privacy and hygiene and location, right? Like the idea of communal restrooms. You're seeing a lot of buildings go to single, we just talked about single stall restrooms. They're not cheap, but that's the preference. This to me is a little bit of that. Like, I have this space, no one's talking to me in this space, I can go back in the space, right?
Especially coming from terms of like, just who is going to be on these overnight cruises. It's not just gonna be all men or all women. I mean, you're gonna have mixed gender and they'll want to have that personal space for themselves.
It'll be a long time. We're gonna have 8 people there working at one time. I mean, there's.
But isn't
I
that
came
part
out-
of, I mean,
I came out of stations that did that. They picked a bathroom that they knew no one was using. I mean,
I'm gonna say this in all kindness, I just think it's changed. I just think you're.
all right. I am concerned about who's cleaning them
Yep.
because,
All fair concern.
and then I see what happens when firefighters clean them. They screw them up. They use the chemicals wrong, everything's turning green, and that's what I worry about when you have that many bathrooms.
No, and I don't have any disagreement with the cleanliness, because it doesn't matter how many bathrooms you have, if you don't keep them clean, no one's gonna use them, right? So
Just doesn't seem that we
I
need
just
to
think people
have
like
that, but
space.
if that's the new trend, I mean, I get it, I'm with that, but it just seems like it's a lot at this point, but, all right. I think that's it for, would we still need the double table storage? Two stable, I mean, I know it's kind of petty, but I'm just trying to figure out.
Your first floor?
Yeah, I'm back on first floor. No,
And are we talking about the storage area adjacent to the training room, and then there's a storage area adjacent to
right.
the
I mean,
apparatus?
I know we do a lot of things in the bays. But is that still gonna play out that way? Things
Yeah, so
change.
they're really, the 2 rooms are really meant to accommodate 2 different operational uses. Let's first in the training area, because that needs to not only be, its primary purpose is fire training. We have training every Monday night. We have it right now. I'm down here with you guys. We set it up with tables and chairs, as police and PD has different neighborhood meetings. There are times where they don't need the tables. They want more chairs out there. So they need a place to kind of put those classroom-like tables someplace. So that's part of this storage is meant to support that training and EOC for different uses and different needs that we would have for that area.
It's the one by the EOC, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The storage and tables off the apparatus bay are the more traditional that you've seen that we have that are really more the plastic tables, the plastic chairs that we put out for open house. Those 2 uses don't really mix, and we're trying to avoid having to bring all those through the fire station, depending on where we want to go. So that's why we have 2 different places.
I just wanted to make sure that wasn't, sometimes you put these things together and all of a sudden, you have duplicates and don't realize it. And I counted it, if I'm counting right in the classroom, it only shows 50 seated. I thought it was a classroom of 100. Am I wrong?
It is size for 50 in a training table setup. It could definitely hold 100 in a classroom setting with, or assembly setting with chairs, like we have out here today. But that's 2 sizes we're looking at.
And this was an area that as we looked to, as cost became kind of a factor, that we did downsize this area a little bit.
That's the room that scares me. That's the room you needed. And that's the EOC.
It's a room that certainly meets our needs now. We've created some ability with so across the hall, there's a breakout room that's an adjacent classroom that is connected to that training room. We've created some spaces that can support from that training room to make it, even though it's maybe not as big, it's going to feel bigger with how we can utilize space within the
Into the
station.
police side, you mean that breakout room?
So this breakout room is off the lobby. So it's off the lobby. It can be accessed from both. So it can be accessed from PD, but also be accessed from the lobby. So when we do fire trainings, a lot of times we break off into small groups. So this is an area that we looked at as an adjacent small group room, and still be connected to that training area.
I'm just concerned that that's a little small for but if you guys are comfortable with it, I just wanted to bring it up.
The other thing that lobby accommodates is there's 2 TV screens and audio-visual that go on the outside of the EOC room, so that if you had like more of a community meeting and, like Quinn said, if you're not having the tables and you're setting it up more as a as a community meeting type of setting. You could get 100 people in there, but you can also get people out in the lobby, and there's 2 TV screens that actually play what's actually happening in the room too. So it creates sort of an overflow area into that lobby.
Just still bigger than our current.
Yes, a little bit.
I'll just throw out the other option I've seen that's more costly than putting 2 TV screens in there, is that you make that wall glass that retracts, right? And you just
We
open
have
it.
looked at that.
Make,
It's about $65,000.
and my history
to
tells
do
me
it.
in
Yeah.
conference room spaces I'm familiar with that they fail.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden the door doesn't close or pins don't drop, the floor shifts, but
Where
I've
we saw
seen that
the,
utilized, but it can be a problem in the long
What
term.
I could say to that, there's 2 aspects. One is that we are certainly looking at a high-grade commercial panel system. And it's also something where we're looking as an alternate to whether to switch it back to just a fixed glass pane if after we get pricing to see, giving it that
Yeah, like
choice.
I
at that
said,
time.
it's been effective, but like I said, I've seen it work well. I've seen it high-end commercial place, floors move, things shift, pins don't line up, and it just becomes a problem to maintain sometimes too, which is a concern long-term as well, so.
and we saw in New Hope, it wasn't actually, it was off of their entryway to their police department. It was actually their council chambers. Actually had a setup like the EOC Center there where they had the glass windows where you could see into the room itself. And then, but they could use the lobby way for additional seating. And then they had the TVs outside there so that people could be part of the meeting, see what's actually happening inside there. And then there's the 2 doors on either side, if they want to get in or out.
This is more police side related. And maybe I'm missing it, but there's only 1 police bathroom for the main area, the police unisex. There's some over by the dorms, but now you want those private. There's no bathroom for the whole police department.
Wow.
1.
Yeah, no, there are more, they're just mixed in with other areas spread around. So to call out a few more, the one we talked about is that unisex. There's one down the side after the deputy chief. As you head down, there's 2 bathrooms there.
There they are.
Yeah.
There's another bathroom over by the patrol, which is that wishbone-shaped seating area, open office area. And then, of course, there's more as you get
Where's
down.
that one?
It's by the patrol officers.
Oh, there. Okay. Sorry, I missed them. All right, good.
Yeah, and then there's one,
I'm
if you look over here, there's another one over in that wing that comes over to.
Yeah, but those are for the dorms. They're part of the dorms.
That is correct. They are part of the dorms and the ones over there.
Let's keep in mind the locker rooms too.
Yeah, which are on the-
But that's in the basement.
That's in the basement. Yep.
Okay, now and I know it's just a terminology, but we're calling them holding cells. But now no one will stay there other than short
Just
term.
for short term. It's for booking until we take them down to the county.
I've already been asked how many prisoners are we gonna hold. When they hear cell, they're gonna assume it's prisoners.
I mean, we do have to make them to Department of Corrections standards.
Yeah.
But it's not somebody is not going to spend the night there.
Current limitation approach is 4 hours at a time.
And the day room, break room for police, now I assume that has a kitchen in it? I can't tell with that. But is that where their kitchen is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
My next one is does every patrol officer need a desk? Every patrol officer has a desk.
I don't want to speak for Chief
You
Cyber.
don't have to. I'm not asking
We've
you.
had this conversation.
I can speak for him.
Yeah.
The one thing that we saw in the police departments, I think did it really well and really clearly valued their employees was creating a separate cubicle space for every patrol
Not
officer.
always here. You can share them.
You
and-
can, but it's trying to create a space for them. It's trying to create a space that's theirs to be able to go back, do the reports. Do you have to? You don't have to, but I will say the departments that did it, it was one of the things that really stood out as far as a retention, or, you know, of why people liked that department, was because I can tell you, we went to another department that they created 2 spaces for all their
Well,
patrol
2 isn't
officers.
enough. I get that.
But my point being is that the ones that we went to that created the space for the patrol officers in that police department, in the department itself, clearly had officers that felt valued in that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, I think some from the private world, right? I think there's been conversations that are very difficult because you have this new in private world, you have hybrid work environments. You're like, oh, we don't need all this space. We can have shared workspaces. And you got people who will line up differently on the opinions of that. There's strong opinions about you're taking my space away. Now, maybe this is space they never had, so you're not taking anything away, right?
No, they're not taking anything away.
But there is that sense, right? Like, I want
Just-
my picture of my family on my desk. This is your point, this isn't space again, but it is an interesting concept because the corporate world's facing that same conversation right now, because you think like, oh, we have hybrid work and you're only in here 2 days a week. Should you have your own dedicated desk space? And there's a lot of opinions on that.
I can tell you, if Chief Seibert was here, one of the things he was most passionate about in this police design was having individual workspace for every patrol officer in that.
All right, I'm good.
I think I was just gonna say that. And I think you would also, in the conversation I've had, they know right now, this is a space for everybody individually. Long-term, as they built out, they know that that's not necessarily this space. There's gonna have to be, as they build out, there'll be more patrol officers than what they currently have, so they'll have to share space. But for right now, this gives everybody their own, and that was really important to it.
For a long time, that's 28 spaces.
Oh, we have 30 officers.
Yeah, but go over on the other side. You got police deputies, sergeants, you got sergeants, lieutenants. I mean, there's not 28 patrol officers.
Correct. Yeah.
What's the workspace over next to the deputy chief? 4 desk. Who's that for?
It's the big H.
Yeah, it's these 4 here that you're referring to.
That's an H.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, records.
Well, that's up further. No, that's up further. It's the one down further. It's right across from the deputy chief's office in the bathroom.
I know the support staff, but I don't know, I don't
It's
recall what.
CSO. I don't see CSO.
Oh, CSO has an office down below here. Somewhere I saw it.
Well, the manager does. I didn't see one for.
Well, I just,
Like crime analysts and things like that.
Right here.
well, but there's 1, 2 future workplaces, which is good. You gotta have that. I know that. But there are already future workplaces, so.
Looks like it says something.
All right. I can't find it now, but there are SRO offices. Do they come into the office every day or do they just stay in the school?
They start their day in the office and then they go out from there.
Okay.
And then they come back and they finish their day in the office.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't know that. Rest of my list off here, so. So I think I want to go to the basement now on PD. It's training. So what is the private locker room? What's that for?
Similar to the unisex bathroom, it's an opportunity to have a locker room that is more flexible in use.
This could be somebody, if there was a gender identity issue, that would be a place where they could go for a locker room.
Is there, and then looking at the locker rooms, is there a way to flip those locker rooms if the female becomes more dominant than the male in the police department?
That's what I was wondering, because there's
Yes.
definitely a shift.
That is true, and that's something we talk about regularly. There is a dividing wall between the locker portions, and that wall can be relocated one way or the other to flex to quantities. A very common thing.
And here we got it, and you're male dominant, which we are today, but that could flip. And I just wanted to know if that was, and then, I mean, the wash bay is nothing, but they don't wash the squads aren't washed there. They go to the gas station, right?
Tech washing, the washing that occurs there is if something happens during transport, whether it be medical or health,
Yeah.
that they can clean out their squads in those locations.
Same reason why my kids wondered why everything's plastic in the back of the squad car.
Yeah.
And I had that conversation with them.
Oh, and then outside of the women's and men's locker room, what are those square boxes in that hallway?
Those are duty bag locations, so I think they take out to the car.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just curious because I like I said, I looked at all these at length and I was trying to understand what they are. Then over by the armory, that must be where they can store their guns.
That is correct.
Serve multiple purposes.
All right. Oh, and the last one, we're talking about EV chargers here. Somewhere I read.
We are providing conduit and preparations for anything in the future so that you don't have to either tear up roads or driveways or parking lots or parts of the building. We're not installing any EV chargers at this time.
Actually, the bigger deal is the transformer size that we put in to the building. So we're putting a transformer size in to be able to accommodate that in the future, but we're not putting any of the wiring in other than conduit.
Because the only reason I ask is there's probably money available to do that. And has anybody looked at finding that money and then it's just done and it's something else paid for?
We could look at that. I mean, I know right now Eden Prairie has some vehicles, and my impression is they haven't been very, very useful. They've had limitations that made them.
So the EV chargers you're talking about are for if we got electric squads.
Yes.
Oh, I thought,
We also.
I thought you were talking for outside parking.
No. We're talking about if you actually got service vehicles. So it could be police squads, it could be fire vehicles.
We do have conduits just prepping for anything in the future as well. Again, so you're not tearing up sidewalks and stuff. But all the possible areas are being prepared for, but not provided for.
Yeah, we're not planning on this being a public EV charging station for.
Okay, it just said EV chargers and it didn't really tell me any more than that. So I was just curious what that was, but yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, they're pushing it pretty hard. I'm not sold on it just yet, but in Minnesota, that is. But yeah, because I know that it takes a lot of extra power for doing it. So, all right. I think that's it.
I had a question. Is there an elevator somewhere?
Yes.
I don't really care. I just want to make sure.
I never saw it either.
Yeah, I'm curious, where is
I never
this
saw it
thing
either.
located?
It's next to the stairway across from the fire department's fitness room, just across the hallway there. And there's a stairwell and just to the left of it is the elevator. And we picked that spot because it connects to basement, main floor and second floor.
Okay,
There's limited
it's
overlap.
probably
Where is it?
this
by that
this
store.
Where?
little,
It's on the north side.
Question.
Yep. Are you on the first floor?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the square room with the dot in the center of
On
it.
the screen,
There's
he's,
no word on it. This is elevator, so
So it's a square room dot in the center, right below the storage room, right next to the stairs.
there we
Not
go.
as you standing there going down.
Gotcha.
There's none on the police side though, to go into the garage.
That's correct. And there was discussion about early on whether we have one or two. And the determination was that the police need is relatively low and they were comfortable sharing that location. So.
Because
They-
the
they're
police garage is separate from the, the rest of the building, would that create an ADA problem at all?
So the elevator does go into the garage. It just doesn't, so if you go to that basement area, it'll find the stairwell towards the top of that basement.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Up by the
Yep.
shelf.
And
Okay,
it's
on the other side, yep.
accessible
Yeah.
For, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Elevators aren't cheap to build either.
No.
Yeah,
No.
they're expensive.
It was purposeful to get it to one.
Wrong place.
I mean, it looks nice. Mayor, I do appreciate you asking the questions because
It is
that
a fire
detail is great. But I mean, it looks.
Appreciate it.
And
Like,
then when you go.
there,
to
I
the
can,
fire, because
it does feel big now, but I think it very much is gonna serve us well at full growth, and that's the important thing. And it maybe feels big because we've had so small that we're used to less than the bare minimum, but I appreciate that. I can definitely see like us as a fully built out city still fitting in this space just fine.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, well, I know it's good to ask questions and kind of get what the details are of everything. And we won't be fully grown, but eventually, that is the plan. But the careful consideration to, the dorms and the bathrooms and those spaces, desk, that I think all builds the that rapport and that, drive to want to, recruit and retain our staff and make them feel safe, welcomed, included, and cared for.
Yeah, the only comment I would make additional as I think about this, I think you're just limited by what you need and the amount of walled spaces you need. The walled spaces all end up on the exterior, which takes all that natural light coming in,
Figure out where.
right? So all the natural light inside gets difficult.
There's
But I-
natural light coming in
It's our
from the
old
ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
offices and I can't
So
find
three
it.
Clear the gray areas where we're
Yes.
bringing light into the
Great,
middle of the
good. That's a good reminder, because I mean, the impact of natural light in your work
Absolutely.
environment and feelings is huge. But again, you're right. That's a good reminder, because when you look at this, I can't see that, right? Because you're just like, well, we line all the offices up on those exterior walls and.
But the good thing is those spaces are right above some of the workspaces are in the center of the.
Yeah, that's good. Yep. I think health and wellness, all the natural light, which again, that's a great reminder, because when you're looking at a flat two-dimensional design, you don't see the glass above you. Awesome. Thank you.
The one thing that's really clear, looking at the floor plans, is that it's very much putting the employees, the officers, firefighters first, right? I mean, it's really about creating spaces for them that they feel they have ownership, that they're welcome, included, but that they also have a home there, so to speak. I mean, I've worked with, Councilmember McGraw was talking about in the corporate world. And I've worked on my day job, I'm an IT consultant, and I've been with multiple companies over the past like 15 years that have gone through a transition from having cubes that everyone had individual cubes to shared office space, and almost universally employees hate it, right? I mean, they kind of feel like, am I even welcome here? Why am I
A
even
number,
working
I'm
here?
just a
Right?
body at a spot.
It's like,
Heard it.
it's like the idea of saying that I have the space here, that I'm welcome, that I can come back to, and this is mine, I can call this, my home because I spend a lot of time here, versus I'm kind of expendable because you're not like making space for me. And I think
You gotta understand, this is shift work. That's different world than office world. And they're not there every day. They rotate, it's different world than your 8 to 5 job. These are different jobs and they work. It is different, and they're not always there. You can't have all 28 officers there. That just doesn't happen. So
Well, it could
these are
happen.
different spaces than you're talking about in the corporate world. And that's why I've been in this world, not on the blue side, but I'm just trying to ask these questions because some of them don't make sense. So,
but I think that the tenor of what people value in terms of recruitment has changed over the time. I mean, even like what, firefighters are to look for as prospective candidates, what they're looking for has been changing, and we need to be adapting to make sure that we're able to recruit the people who are the quality people that we're looking for a community. And to me, that's
Yeah.
critical.
And the firefighters don't all have a desk. So I'm just asking the question to make sure that I have learned that you need to have extra space. That's important. And I see future things, and I know that drives some people insane, but you got to have them. But I just wonder about some of the things that I'm seeing that just is different in how I think, but that's me.
Mayor, I guess
So I asked.
I certainly appreciate the feedback. I mean, it's been very purposeful to some of those choices that we did make. It's hard to know how to be responsible with future sizing something versus where we sit today. That was some of the challenges that we've run into with the current building that we have now, is that wasn't quite as much of an effort. So again, we're trying to walk that fine line, and I think we've made some pretty good choices that are going to suit us well long term.
Space is always hard because it seems weird that you have an empty space, right? And it's going to seem weird when people see this, because they're going to question like, well, you got all this open space, what do you need, right? And so
Put a desk in there is what you do.
You do, but again, it seems labeling things as future workspace is great because it's functional what it is. It does lead to questions of people saying, well, that you're building this way too big, right? So I think I'm just saying that I'm not agreeing with. I'm just saying that is feedback. Again, as things like this come public, you're going to hear. But again, it's because we're trying not to have to build this another one in 30 years.
Yep.
And I still have a concern over that training EOC room, community room. That's not big enough. You have a big incident and you have police and fire there, and whatever. I just seems small to me, but what's the square footage of that room?
Extrapolate here.
I mean, if you don't, you don't. That's fine. I mean, it probably won't, but it just.
Probably about, yeah. No, I'm not great at doing math in my head standing up here, but some of the discussion is it is larger than the current training room at.
Well, but that was the point. It wasn't big enough. But
I think one thing though that Stephen talked about that I think is important is there was multiple rooms that we have tied together that go with that EOC room. So we have breakout rooms that are tied together.
Tied together. They're across the hallway. No.
They're tied together with technology. So they have TV screens that are tied together. They have the technology that ties them together so that there can be breakout space outside of the, if the group needs to get together. And I forget how many breakout spaces, but I thought there was like 3 breakout spaces that actually tied into.
The largest one is PD's roll call briefing room is tied into that space as well. That's probably that breakout room in between one of the storage in the EOC can become an office. The conference rooms, a large conference room in the fire station and the one in PD also can be tied in via technology, as well as both chiefs' offices to create space to get to where you can still be tied together via technology, but separate spaces.
Well, I'm looking here and I'm not sure that there's a way to lock. Is there a way to lock down those rooms that no one, because if you come through breakout room 1 to go to roll call briefing room, you have full reign into that police department. There's no separation door there, security separation door. And then I just know that the police are very, they want to know who's accessing their building, and there's no secure point that people could go into that room and not get in the rest of the building.
The operational conversations that the chief and I have had talk about if the EOC is stood up for some reason, we have the ability at the front vestibule to create that first stop right there. And so that public lobby space is potentially locked down there and you're admitted only with proper access. That's one scenario that we've talked about. There's other door screeners and card access into some of these other areas that would restrict some of the access you're talking about. So people would have to be credentialed.
But we got card system?
I imagine with
doors?
this, we're
I'm
gonna,
assuming we're gonna
One
have.
of the things on the table.
I would hope so. I don't know if you're joking or not.
I think he is.
I hope so.
Smile like.
Oh, no, no.
It'll be,
Over it.
I'll
It's
be,
not.
I'll be interested if we have that. But I just worry knowing that when I would go into our police station, they were very concerned about who comes in there. I had access, but there were places that they had it secured off that you can't. And if we're going to use this as part of our EOC, I don't know if you secured that off enough. I don't know if you.
There is a secure line between that room and the PD area. So I think if you were going to be expanding into some of those other rooms, it'd be either PDs using some of those other rooms that are on the south side of that separation line. Or if there was a need, there would be an opportunity to release some of the doors through programming. But in general use, you're right, there is a definite desire to have a separation.
Roll call briefing room, you got to be able to open the door to get out of there.
Absolutely. If you're in the
Well,
row,
that puts you in the police department area,
it is.
and you shouldn't be.
Now, the areas I think that would be used by people other than PD are more like the breakout conference room in front of that area where it has that secure side of the other room.
Okay. I just said it just. I think those are rooms that we're most concerned about, and I'm concerned because now if the EOC is too full, we're gonna go over in the police side with no closed security system to keep people from wandering. That just doesn't sit in my head, right? But
Well, I think,
if you
again,
guys are comfortable, I
I
don't
think in
care.
that scenario, it's not just anybody, right? There are people, there's levels of credentialing. Obviously, to have access into the PD area. Like for myself, I know I have to CJ certified to be able to walk through parts of this, the police area. Not everybody will have that. Not everybody will be able to come into this particular part. So there's still going to, even in the EOCs up and running, there's still going to be, security and secure
If you
portions.
guys are comfortable with it and PD's comfortable with it, I don't care, but it just doesn't seem right to me. If that's, you guys are comfortable with, all right, I just think your room should be bigger and you wouldn't have that issue. But, all right, I'm done. So I don't have any more questions unless anybody else does.
Took 'em all. Those are all my.
Yeah, whatever.
No, it's serious. I do. You were talking to Taylor or Councilmember Hubbard, when I mentioned, I do appreciate your attention to detail and asking those questions. So I thought that was a good exercise and I appreciate that.
Thank you for that. But I did look at it. I mean, I know just enough to be dangerous and I just needed to ask questions. So.
Great job.
So what's next?
Well, just to give you an idea of the schedule, so we are submitted to come in for final for December. Assuming the final goes through in December, then we would go into, we do a final cost estimation before we would actually go up for bid, which I assume probably the beginning of January, we get that back. Assuming that everything is fine with the final cost estimation, then we'd actually go out for bid, I'd say mid-January. And that's out there for about a month, and we could expect that we get back bids mid-February and go through evaluation so we can be in a position to choose a contractor sometime by the end of February would be the goal. So, so we can keep on track for our next spring construction. Simultaneous to that, Stephen has been working on the temporary location for the fire department. So that I've shared with you before is going to be in the old Lano facility as part of the MSB campus. We did send out notices to all the neighbors in the area. We have a neighborhood meeting next Tuesday. Yeah, I think it's a week from a week. Next, okay, a week from Wednesday. If anybody has any questions, but we also said, hey, you don't have to come to the meeting. You can just call and ask questions. And so far, Steven said he hasn't gotten any call or received any calls on it. So I thought Kevin and Steven did a really good job of sort of talking about how emergency response would come out of that station when it's, they wouldn't have lights and sirens on until they hit England Boulevard, which is where people would hear it anyway. But just also the things that people can expect as far as, vehicles backing in and those types of things. So we're working on that sort of simultaneous to this. So
Do you have an idea of cost? Is there gonna be like significant renovations that need to that or whatever?
there's some more electrical. I don't know if you have any more detail on that. It's more sort of upgrading some of the electrical that we'll need in there.
Yeah, I don't have, on a real high level, we're looking at, again, the electrical is the big concern right now, because we have to bring in some support trailers for officing staff, for our duty crews. The electrical infrastructure in that shed isn't enough to accommodate those. So we're taking a look at the adjacent cold storage building as well, and working with our partners in the city electric to kind of just figure out what that needs from our standpoint, from a cost. So I don't have that number for you. We're pulling in different options for trailers that I have for you at the end of the week that we can start reacting to. But this is definitely, I think, the most cost efficient way to do this and relocate the department and still help us be operational for these 18 months. Mm-hmm.
The monument sign now, that's gonna have the electronic signage in it.
Yes.
And is that I can't tell. I mean, is that enough room to put messages that they don't have to scroll this way? They can put stack letter. I mean,
I don't know if it can stack.
because they always talk about you shouldn't put those in because people get distracted. You need to see the message, not have it scrolling. And it looked a little small to me because I've always envisioned that to be the place to really have that nice message board, because it's a main east-west.
Yeah.
We don't have one anywhere else. And that should be the marquee of where we can get information out that we always seem to struggle with. So, we're all smiling. So something's going on.
We're maximizing the size to allow it in the ordinance currently for that space.
Oh.
So that's the.
Is it going to be efficient? If it's not going to be efficient,
It is of a size similar to other.
Anecdotally, I never drive.
On the street and it is not meant to be a scrolling sign. It is meant to be static. Yeah. So it is sufficient. You're not going to write a big story. You can just say, this event that day type of thing and through that, but.
Maybe give a sense of how tall is that sign? Is that 4.5?
4 feet wide and I think it's 3.5 feet tall or something like that.
The electronic part?
Yes, just the electronic.
That's as big as you allow?
It'd be a weed.
Well, that's Nate's. Wow, that seems small.
Lowered
That's
the
just-
sign.
It's just ordinance.
When things
Yeah.
get bad.
The only path forward would be, dare I say,
Well, are we gonna
Don't say
we gonna
it.
get the
Don't
benefit out of
say
it?
it.
Maybe it's not worth putting in. Maybe I'm just on a pipe dream there, right?
I mean, that the size, and this is before I sat in this chair, but I do recall when we were going through with electronic signage, that was analyzed quite a bit as to what is the appropriate size and trying to find balance. Not all electronic signs are city run. And so I think there's a lot of discussion around what's the right balance. there.
Well, I mean, maybe one to give you a sense of what it's trying to replicate is the one that or Jeff Hansen's office is, like, at the corner of
Oh.
Bavaria and Engler, where you have a monument sign with a scrolling sign put in it. I believe
The gas station has one as well.
yeah, I believe it's about that size, and they get pretty decent sized messages on there.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
It seems bigger than 4 feet by 2 feet. But I don't know.
Like Holiday would have one, right? 41 in Engler, Holiday has that. That's a digital
I have a
sign.
digital sign.
I drive by that all the time. I don't ever pay
As long as
attention.
it works, I just, like I say, if it's not functional, I don't want to put it in. That'd be the only thing. All right, anyone else? Find what we're doing here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-90. Are there two here?
We're gonna do one, but we're gonna do the resolution first.
Okay, I did the resolution.
I'll second that.
So I'm just trying to get here. All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Hatfield, second by Councilmember Wong, adopting resolution 2023-90, approving preliminary site and building plans for 285 Engler Boulevard and adjacent undressed, that's what it says, right? Unaddressed North Meadow Park. All right, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Next is the ordinance 1038, approving the rezoning of the property at 285 Engler Boulevard, Fire Station property from P2 public buildings to a PCD planned commercial district, and rezoning of the adjacent unaddressed property Meadow Park from a PMD 03 planned multi-use development district to a PCD planned commercial district. Oh, that's a mouthful.
So move.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Hubbard,
Second.
second by Councilmember Gra. Again, that's ordinance 1038, rezoning of 285 Engler Boulevard Fire Station. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. We got final. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. There we go. I think we're done, aren't we?
Yep, just bills.
All right. How about bills?
I have a couple questions. I have 4 questions to be specific. I'll go through them quickly. On page 10, there's one for Fred Loading Companies for this Highway 41 Oak Ridge. It looks like a water something. Is this the same company that owns like the Ace Hardware?
No.
Or is
No.
it something different?
No, this
Okay.
is a construction, it's a company that did all the construction of the Costco site, all the groundwork and stuff, and so we paid to have a water main oversized up there. So that's what that cost is.
Got it. Okay. And then page 11, there's an item for Hazelton Gates. This is for the 2023 parking lot rental. And I thought I recalled that we would not be paying for the parking lot rental.
You're
after-
correct. Once the course opened,
Okay.
that was the deal of it. We had hoped that we were gonna open during 2023, but once the course opens, then it's in place for like 75 years. So
So we still have to pay this 14,000 and
we are responsible until the course opened.
why didn't we open it this fall then? If I,
We didn't have a
well,
call.
all I'm gonna say is it's open.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's crazy, that 14.
I don't know that they would have gone for that.
So we're not gonna get any refunds once the course opens?
Once the course opens, we don't pay again, ever.
No, but we're paying 14,000 for nothing. Nobody's parking there.
We put all of our construction equipment there when we were doing when we were
But
doing.
this
the
is for
football.
next year.
No, this is for this past year. This is 2023.
Going crazy. All right, anybody else?
Let's add 2 more questions. Page 26, there's an item for a SCADA system repairs. What's the life cycle for SCADA systems? I mean, because these things, I mean, obviously have a finite service life to them.
Yep. So SCADA systems are typically on a 15 to 20-year replacement plan. We're actually doing our first major SCADA upgrade on our water treatment plant this winter, and our water treatment plant opened up, I believe, in 2005.
Okay, so within a couple more years, they'll probably be ready to.
Yep. And so, yeah, it was a 2022 budget item, but a lot of it was equipment that had quite a bit of lead time to it. So we're just getting into installing it now.
Okay, so this is so is this repairs or replacement?
Replacement.
This is a replacement.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And it's a software and hardware type upgrade that you need to do when you go through that. But generally it's about 20 years that you do it.
Okay, so we're up on right up on that.
Yep.
Okay. Last one is page 27, the Vaden Company. This was for the Hill Tower demolition. Didn't we just see this last month for?
So, yeah, so Vite Company, there was a number of components of the project they had to do. And so they submit a bill, based on the pieces of the project they got done. This was the last one that had to do with the curb, asphalt, and surface removal, or surface improvements. Matt said it's possible we may have another one before the project is finalized, but we hold on to retainage too in that to make sure that everything's done before we make final payment.
But we're not putting real curb up there, just a blacktop curb?
It says we're doing. He didn't say whether it was regular curb or not, so I'm not sure.
Okay, that's all I got. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Matt, I got a quick one on, I don't know if you know, the page 11, we paid our Larson, Voight attorneys, Meadows Spring Church. Are we buying property from them?
We have an easement that we purchased a parking lot. So that's the parking lot that we purchased over here. So that's, we're still going through the process of settling that with them.
So we own the parking lot between them and Red Bench, that part?
Yes, correct.
And so are we in a court battle over that?
Well, they haven't agreed on what we've put forward yet. So the way the process works is that we have to make a deposit with the court on what the appraised value is. And then they determine whether or not they're going to accept that. If they don't accept it, then we continue through the process, and that amount stays in like an escrow until the whole negotiation or court settlement gets finalized.
So he didn't want to sell it then?
I don't know that,
Or is it just a price thing?
it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, Elise and Native and dealing directly with it, but I think it's a little bit of not wanting to sell the parking lot. I think.
I guess this is a matter that continues to be negotiated and reviewed.
Okay,
may go to court.
I get where you're going. I'm good. I just, that one kind of confused me a little bit, so we'll see what that was, so I get it. Okay, thanks. Anyone else on a bill? Motion to pay the bills? I got a motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to pay the bills. Discussion? Elise, we call roll, please.
Councilmember Hatfield?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Ross?
Yes.
All right, other business, Councilmember Hatfield.
Yes, few things, earlier this month, Southwest Transit Commission, along with a couple staff members had a strategic planning meeting. That hadn't happened in a couple of years, so it was good for us to get up together for about 9 hours on a Saturday and do some work. And so we don't have kind of our final initiatives out of it, but we did work with, what are they called? A person that facilitator, thank you. A facilitator to do that. So I think, when we kind of have more details back, we can share that with the rest of the council, but it was good. It was really good to just sit down and talk and work through things and have differing views on a lot of things, but also be able to come together. So it was good to have that. So more to come on that, but it happened and it was kind of an important part as we move forward with you know, the uniqueness of a joint powers agreement and how we do that. And yeah, so more to come on that, but wanted to share that it happened. And then coming up, Small Business Saturdays this coming Saturday. So I encourage everyone to shop small. I'm sure we do plenty of shopping at Amazon year round. So this coming weekend and probably the next, if we can shop at our local businesses, that is amazing. And they Downtown Business Alliance is doing another event, kind of not quite on the same scale, but just the shops will be open. And similar to last time, there is an area that you can, in the very center of downtown, where you can go with beverages and things between. So if you want to go eat at La Hermosa and then take one further road to walk down to Carver Junk, you could do that. So that'll be exciting and fun. So I encourage everyone to go downtown for that. And then the next weekend, same, more fun, is Hometown Holiday. So the tree lightings will be happening. Shops will be open. There'll be programming in the park with the carriage rides, which people always really love. And other things, llamas. Did they say llamas this year again? Llamas again. That is always fun. So that's on that Saturday. And then our tree lighting in Fireman's Park on the Sunday. So lots that weekend, lots of lighting trees with lights. And then just the other thing I wanted to mention is our, I got my property tax statement today. So I encourage everyone to look those over, and the meeting dates for the different, you know, county, city, school district are on there. Ours is December 4th here at our council meeting, our next council meeting. So that's our truth and taxation. Why can't I think of words tonight? Public hearing. So that is when that is. So I just wanted to share and encourage people to take a look at their property tax statements. And that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Sure.
I have a testimonial actually for Southwest Transit. One of my employees went to the Billy Joel concert, and her and her mother were eating at a restaurant. She said they were like 15 minutes from like downtown, but they saw online that Southwest Transit was offering the busing to the concert. So they actually drove back from Bloomington to use the busing, and they loved it and they thought it was fabulous. And I felt like kind of a heel because I knew that was some of the service being offered and I never told her. But nonetheless, it was a good testimonial that they enjoyed that service happening. So it's great that they're able to provide that service for concert goers and, you know, sports related things and things of that nature. But I really don't have anything. I mean, I went to the veterans ceremony at the Chaska Middle School West. It was, you know, phenomenal. They always do such a great job, and it's really moving. An honoring tribute to our past and present military personnel. And I guess just, you know, wishing everybody happy Thanksgiving. I'm grateful for all of you and grateful for the city staff that do such hard work. And I just say, as we enter the season of giving, to think about different organizations like, you know, our food shelves. I know they're and speaking with a neighboring food shelf, you know, the need is really high. It's a lot higher than normal. And so I just thinking of our community members and our friends, you know, reaching out to them and just making sure that, you know, asking if they need anything and donating our time and our money and our resources towards organizations like even like Heroes and Helpers that our Officer Julie Janke runs. I know that, you know, if you can donate to that, you know, the Target gift cards to help with that program, that's happening the first Saturday, I think it's the 2nd of December. I didn't look that date up, so don't quote me on that.
Is that the right?
I could be wrong. It's probably the 3rd. It is the 2nd. It is the 2nd.
Oh, that's a
so,
busy day.
you know, you can go online, you can donate, you can have it, emailed over to Officer Janke, and things of that nature. But there's a lot of great, other events coming up. I'm sure the other two down the line will say, but that's it. That's all I got.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Let's see. So I also attended the Middle School West Veterans Day program. Really well done. So just hats off to the committee there and to all the staff and volunteers who helped out with that. A really well done program. And thank you again to all the veterans who served. And then also welcome to the officers Dylan Lang, Kelly Robinson, and Trent Wybush to the department. So welcome and welcome to Chaska. It's good to have you on board. And also, one other item is the Principal Bach from the high school and Cindy Brazil were kind enough to provide just a quick summary that's in the packet. I'm not going to read through the whole thing of some notable accomplishments from different students at the high school. So just want to give a big shout out to them for both academically, for the arts, and for sports, for all of the students who've been just showing their Chaska colors, which is absolutely phenomenal. And I did want to say that I did attend this past weekend these high schools theater departments performance Spamalot, which they did a fantastic job as always. And so, just our arts are alive in our schools, and they are a very talented bunch of young people. So just going to shout out to them. And of course, last week, for those who may not know, was the Festival of Lights, was the holiday known as Diwali in India. And so it's highly celebrated by a lot of people around the world. We don't really celebrate it here, but happy Diwali.
Our neighborhood had a Diwali party.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Down in Cossack, we have a lot of people who are of East Indian descent in our neighborhood, and so they had one down in a cul-de-sac. So yeah,
It's very cool. It's such a neat celebration. So happy Diwali.
When is that? What is
it
it?
was
last
last
week.
Sunday.
Last Sunday.
But is
Yeah.
it like the last Sunday of the month? No, it's not.
That's lunar.
calendar.
Oh,
lunar
okay.
calendar.
Yeah.
calendar, so it
It moves around every year, like Lunar New Year's kind of thing. So happy Diwali, a belated happy Diwali, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone coming up, since later on this week's Thanksgiving. That's all I got.
All right, John.
On the connection of Thanksgiving, I feel a strong need to encourage good food preparation and safety. So rule of two,
The Butterball hotline will be open.
the rule of 2 hours with your food preparation, but just keep in mind, our volunteer fire and duty crews like to celebrate their holiday time, and our police with their families as well. So, the common, you see the stories on the news, and I actually did a safety moment at work about the importance of deep fry, thawing out your turkey completely before deep frying it, setting off the open flame when you put it into the hot oil. And I actually learned a bunch of cool science of actually why it causes that, because it's the instant oil has a higher boiling temperature than water, so
Yeah.
it instantly vaporizes anything that's water.
Someone's taking a food safety
So
class.
it is
serious.
so super, people like that, but be safe. But again, it goes to cooking your turkeys and cooking your meals. Just be safe, because like I said, a lot of people together and it can be a little hectic. I just thought of the other question. It seems strange when it's been like 60 degrees the last few weeks. What is our tip? And I'll take advantage of Marshall being here. What is our typical timeline for outdoor ice rinks? It all varies. I mean, roughly.
I want to hear that
Whatever you
answer.
do a Facebook group.
Do you want to
we can
hear
send
what we target?
Yeah, what do we target? Because
So we target to have it when the kids get out. No, when the kids get out for Christmas break on December.
That ain't
20th.
gonna happen.
That's when we target it.
Good.
I'll tell you that usually we get the ice about January 15th, and it's usually out by like February 3rd.
yeah, like I said, it's been. I think it's gonna hit us hard this week.
Back in the day, that's how we did it.
What else do I have? I will only slightly reference now if the mayor's listening, because he's talking. I will let. I think
I'm listening.
I will not steal your thunder. I don't know if you intended to mention, not specifically the Chaska, but Eastern Carver County Schools and particular football games. So I'll let you. I don't know if you were planning on wishing any of that luck, but I'll let you hold that one. So.
I don't know if you can talk about that in Chaska.
I don't. It is part of Eastern Carver
I've
County.
been waiting to hear that the mayor from Chaska is running around with Jen Assen. So I've been waiting to hear that.
I
I
will
haven't heard
let
it
you
yet.
hold that, because again, I think we support all our school
Scandal.
districts. If it was head to head,
Scandal.
we have a different feeling.
Yeah.
But I will point out that it was pointed out that Eastern Carver County is 1-0 against St. Thomas Academy in Prep Bowl championships. I'll just
Yeah,
point that
there you
out.
go.
So,
Well, I think we might be hosting football team's dinner Friday night at the lodge.
Yep, I just got
Oh,
word,
that's fun.
I just got word of that.
see, look at that, community build. So, okay, that's enough. I don't want to steal his thunder. So I will, that's all I have there.
8.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'm excited to be hosting, so thank you for the safety tips, John.
Yes.
Nice.
certified.
What time is dinner?
I'll let you know.
That's it. Well, I don't know. People just stop. I don't know if they're, I just want to make sure you got plenty of time. Thank you. Elise,
Happy Thanksgiving.
thank you. Christoph, nothing?
Giving.
Matt?
Happy Thanksgiving, but one thing I want to say, I had a chance to go on a plane yesterday
Saw that.
above Chaska.
Wow.
And if you ever doubted how big our Christmas tree is at Fireman's Park, you'll have to take a look at the shadow that thing casts across the park from the sky. That Christmas tree, you could see from a long ways away.
Smell a drone video,
That's all.
Mr.
All
Pilot.
right. Anybody, by the way, we got a lot of staff. Anybody out there got anything you want to add? Anybody? All right.
Okay, is that it?
I just want to say thanks to Councilmember Wong for covering the mayor's luncheon that we just had, I think it was last Wednesday. And we're starting to get some comments. Why aren't I there? That just happens to coincide with the same time as our tab meetings. And we as a city made a choice to say that that's important for us to be there. I think that it's good for our council to be able to go in and do that and have that ability to do that. And I mean, so far, I think so. We've been around. Everyone's done it once. And you're on your second
I
time.
just said, I think I'm next.
And everyone's done an excellent job. I've gotten great reports. So, but I'm not just skipping those meetings. And I know Darren, before Darren left, I said he's going to change the meeting, but their meetings are Wednesday. And if you change one to a Tuesday or a Thursday, it's going to mess it up. My tab meetings are that Wednesday. It just doesn't work. But I agree, and Matt agrees that it's important for me to be at tab, especially it always seems to be we're doing a lot of, now this year it wasn't, but normally there's something there that we're voting on or whatever, and basically that's where
People may not know what
I
tab
was just gonna
is.
say, can you tell us what it is?
just a minute. So TAB is the Transportation Advisory Board of the Met Council. So basically all the money that comes in for roads, every city sends in what projects they want to do. This is, it's not only roads, it's bridges, it's trails, anything to do with any bike trails, walking trails, any of that. And then those submittals are all, they're all ranked by importance. They got scores that they rank them through. And then, but there are options that we as the council can change things and move things and do things. So that's what's kind of happening there. It's been, like I said, we've been pretty successful. And I wish I could say that it was me totally, but I think it was just that we have a lot of projects, we're growing. We have a lot of things that are scoring high. So it's working out, but I do think that relationships matter, and being there on a regular basis, that we meet once a month, the third Wednesday. And it's important. I actually sit on the executive board, and I'm the first chair. So the chair is gone. So it's important for us to, or for me, representing Chaska and Carver County to be there. So that's why I'm not there, for anyone that's still might be listening. So, but thank you for doing that again. one question in your biweekly, so we're seeking that state support for the golf. Would the golf experience go away then?
Yeah, that's sort of the thought, is that the golf experience would go away. But it really can only go away if we get this state support.
Well, that's what I mean. I just,
But I can tell you that, they're not, we've been really deliberate over the years of only charging the most direct costs that we have. But there is a lot of time that staff puts and equipment that we put into hosting those golf tournaments. And, big kudos to Phil Anderson as the new GM up at Hazeltine. And he was the one that came to us, and I remember our first conversation, he said, well, you guys must do really well financially on these golf tournaments. And I'm like, nope. We love having the tournaments because it's a great way for us to showcase our community in front of the world, but there's a cost that comes to it. And the dollars that get, there's lots of dollars that get generated in the state from the tournament, but they're not happening here. They're happening in Bloomington, they're happening in Minneapolis. And so, they really took it upon themselves to go to the state and the governor's office and say, listen, we have Chaska that's providing all these services. They're not getting any financial benefit out of doing this. The state's the one that's really getting the financial benefit of it. The state should really be supporting Chaska for the costs that we have for public works and for IT and for our public safety with police and fire. So we're just sort of finishing up that process now of gathering sort of the information of what those real costs are. And their hope is to really get it in through the sports commission as part of the legislative session this year. So again, I really appreciate Phil's willingness to step up and say, hey, we as a club are going to help to support you guys as a community to go get this.
that goes to what I just said, relationships matter.
Absolutely.
And we haven't had that kind of relationship out there in the past.
Well, and the good thing is a good partnership. It benefits both sides. It benefits Hazeltine too, because one of the things that's really changed with golf tournaments now is, and Kevin can speak to this, is, the expectation in the past is that PGA would come and have to pay for all these services. The expectation now is that they're not paying for anything. And that's how golf clubs get these tournaments, is that they have to be able to go and put a package together that makes it attractive for the PGA or USGA or whoever to come. And so it's a benefit to Hazeltine and it's a benefit to Chaska to continue to get these tournaments. So again, big kudos to Phil. I've been thoroughly impressed with him coming in as GM up at Hazeltine.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Just a couple things, I know we talked about hometown holidays, December 2nd, tree lightings at 5 o'clock.
6. Oh, you're sorry, Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 5, right?
5.
Yeah, it is.
I was thinking of the wrong one.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm clarifying that this gets goofed up. And then, are you gonna be there? Okay. Nate, you got fired already?
I don't know.
That was like your thing.
The community development director job title.
I've handed the torch over.
The switch.
Switch, yes.
I'm the one that does the switch on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why Matt only responds to
So-
time of that.
So anyways, hometown holiday goes all afternoon, all morning and afternoon. And then at 5 o'clock, we will light the tree in City Square Park. And that is from the coloring contest winners, correct? So it's always fun to bring those youngsters up there. They're all so shy. But I don't know when the coloring contest comes out. It must be out already.
We'll check on that.
Yeah. Well, anyways, look for that if you wanna, for your children to do that. And then Sunday, December 3rd at 6 o'clock is the Fireman's Park tree lighting. And that's directly after the 100 Club. And the 100 Club it's a nonprofit, right?
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit that the money that that is generated from there, that's what pays for our Christmas decoration within the city. So it's a great event. Still got tickets available? Or do you sell
We may have two or three tickets, not a ton.
them? Well, if you're interested in a ticket, if you're still listening, get a hold of Matt Podorowski. They're usually a hard ticket to get. So, all right, next, little ahead of schedule, but I want to get it out there. Santa Parade is December 20th. And that starts roughly 4:30, 5 o'clock, I believe. I got to get home from Tab before I can get going with that. And hopefully, maybe there's an appearance of Buddy the Elf and maybe the Grinch. Santa will be there. So, not sure. No one's quite sure what Santa's sleigh will be this year. You never know.
Potentially.
You never know what Santa could show up in. So, December 4th.
There's a blizzard or not.
Yeah, December 20th.
Yeah, I thought the front end loader was a good one.
I made the news, right?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You gotta do something to make the news.
so anyways, December 20th, and then as we get closer to that date, the route will come out through our city webpage. And then it's interactive, so you can actually follow where Santa Claus is and know when, how close they are getting to your area. So it's a great night. It's the first day that their kids are out of school, or no, the kids get out that day, right? That day. So hopefully people are still around and come out. It's a great event. It's amazing how many people do come out and see it. And people have now started kind of getting blacks together and having little parties and having a good time. So December 20th. Our next couple meetings are December 4th. And that's our truth and taxation. And then on December 18th is when we would make the determination about adopting our budget. So that's the 18th. And then lastly, I will talk a little bit what John started talking about. I don't usually do this, but I am going to brag a little bit. My grandson is the starting quarterback for the Chan football team, and they're in the prep bowl this Saturday. So it's pretty exciting. They've had a great year. The game last Saturday night at the stadium was absolutely crazy. 56-48. There was 1,000 yards of offense and 100 points in a high school football game. It was.
And it was at US Bank?
It was at US Bank. My grandson threw 3 touchdowns and ran 2 in. So he had a heck of a ball game, and it's been a lot of fun, but now it's down to 1 game. So fun times. So and from other conversation, I got a hold of Eric from Southwest Transportation and asked if he'd be willing to run buses down there for the game on Saturday.
That was your idea. That's a good one. That was a good idea.
So they got 7 buses and they needed 13. That was the support that they had. And I hope it happens again, but I know that the bus that I rode on is a passenger. It's supposed to be 50 seats. 95 people were in that bus because they were trying to get everybody there. Hey, there was a gal there. She's the one that said, fill it
They
up.
are doing it again. I saw.
No, they are doing it again. I do want to get a hold of them and just maybe say, hey, we didn't expect that kind of turnout. We'll have this covered. I'm hoping that can happen, but so that people are still, because I think some people were maybe a little frustrated. There's something going around that some people didn't get there. I don't believe that. I think everybody was able. And the same thing, they said they were leaving 20 minutes after the game. By the time we got there, it was at least 40 minutes. And luckily the buses were still all there. And they changed it now to 45 minutes so that, because there'll be medals at this next game now for
They
first
say
and
that
second.
after like concerts and things, because I was concerned after Taylor Swift, and there's buses there when you get there.
Right.
Just meant to keep you from
That's,
hanging out too long.
Eric said we won't leave anybody behind, but they don't
They said to
They
me
don't
too.
know who's who though.
I was just gonna say.
So I was getting a little nervous.
You're nobody. We'll leave you behind.
We almost had we had a private bus. The nine group we were in, and then two other people. That's all that was on our bus. So we were the last ones out of there. So, but anyways, Southwest, I mean, that's the only way to go down there. It was awesome. It was nice night. There's, I think you walk 4 blocks from where they drop you off, because no buses can drop off at the stadium. I didn't realize that. So, thanks to Southwest for what they're doing on that. Lastly, I'm just gonna say the same. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. However you celebrate it, enjoy it, have a good time. Be safe if you're traveling. No weather stuff going on, so it should be pretty good traffic. So that's about it. Anyone else? Last call?
Okay, how about Wednesday night if you need it?
Yeah, Wednesday night's kind of a big
Blackout
Out.
Wednesday, right?
college guys are all guys and gals are all home and go out. So yeah, exactly.
Things you don't learn when you go to a Christian college. It's
Mm.
crazy.
Wednesday night.
Whatever.
This Wednesday night is a big night. Rob can probably attest to that. This is so. John is correct.
From a working standpoint, let's.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. There's no doubt. But anyways, if you are, be responsible. Make sure that you make it to Thanksgiving dinner the next day, safe and sound. So, all right.
Hold you for a while.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. We're adjourned. See you in a couple.